I'm a baker. I'm like, I don't care, man. Come with all your spices, and help me. And so we lost, but we did battle with Bobby Flay on ecstasy.
Let's talk about some more sane things like actually this is quite sane, but I know that it gets insane because so this is a segue that was supposed to be sane, and I know it's not going to be sane. So one of the things, another thing that like you were always a mover and a shaker. You were always like reinventing and redefining and just like kind of like creating, and that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about what you do. But you started getting involved with the community a bit, and I really enjoyed being part of the Brooklyn Fishing Derby, right? And if you remember back, like I remember like right in front of the gallery, the 31 Grand Gallery, which was at the intersection of Kent and Grand, was a busted old pier. Like right down there at the end of the street, and like people would fall off the pier and drown. I mean, like and it's the East River, man. It rips in there. Yep. So, but I remember like part of the fishing derby, people were like throwing lures out all over Williamsburg and all out Red Hook. Like I remember fishing off of like Fulton Ferry down under the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah,
I mean, so tell us about the Brooklyn Fishing Derby.
Well, that was, again, another happy accident because I had just bought a fishing rod from, Dream Fishing Tackle in Greenpoint, Polish-run fishing shop, legitimate fishing shop, which was so cool because all their lures and stuff were European. Side point, but it was just amazing.
Makes no sense at all.
Yeah, like how it even worked was just so cool. But anyways, it was there, and I bought a rod, and I went down to I don't know what street, India Street, and I just wanted to try out the rod, and I cast with, I don't even know what I had on there, and I'm just like retrieving the thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, bam, a bluefish just nails it. And it's like, and I was like, all I wanted to see was how the rod functions. I had no idea that there were even fish in the East River. And suddenly I've got this fish on and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I got the fish in and I was just sitting there and I was like, what? I was like, this cannot be. Threw it out there again, boom, bluefish. I was like, this is, once again, another reason I can never leave New York City. Now, everything that I used to do in Cape Cod, which was actually a little bit further away and harder to get to, now I can walk 2 blocks from my apartment and go fishing for the same fish I was catching with where I needed a boat. I needed
the fish are radioactive though.
Well, but so that's the thing. So I kind of started to look into it and all these fish have a crazy history and they're all traveling such insane distances.
Oh yeah, they're migratory. Yeah.
Yeah, that you can say the same thing for the fish that you eat in Cape Cod. There's no way that you would know or not know if that fish had spawned up the East River. Mm-hmm. And so it's really much more about like the environment where it's sold, which makes you feel better about it or not as good about it. So,
right. Yeah,
so
the striped bass go up and around that too.
Totally. So, I don't know. So then I just got really, really excited about this. And from just the sports side of it, and then also just the idea that like, wow, there's some ecology and science that needs to happen here. Like this is so rad. Like if these fish are able to survive in this really nasty water, then there is something needs to be done because this is it's a miracle that this even exists.
Oh, I've seen. I remember one night I was down off Fulton Ferry, and the guys were pulling in monster striped bass, monsters. I was shocked.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really into the sort of. I always said it was like the graffiti of fishing. I always liked fishing, but suddenly it was taking on like a badass element because all these places we were going to, you weren't allowed to fish. So we would go at night and we'd be climbing over barbed wire and we'd be jumping these like dilapidated docks that you're talking about that were so dangerous. And we'd be fishing all the way out on the end of these piers. And I was just like, it is so beautiful out here with the water lapping underneath you. And then this view of the entire cityscape. And like, no one knows you're there. And it's completely quiet, but you're hearing every once in a while, like a fish. And it was so unbelievably moving. The whole thing was just incredible. And I don't know. So anyways, so that's how the Brooklyn Fishing Derby was founded.
Is it how long did it last for? Is it still going on?
Like 5 years. We're not doing it anymore. Some guys are doing a much better job of it than I was. But man, it was so fun. And then it got so competitive. That's why we shut it down, because every fishing derby, I was like, if this is going to be a legitimate fishing derby, you need to bring in like some cash prizes. Mm-hmm. So then we'd like go to all the local bars and we'd be like, hey, do you want to get involved in this? And like some of them were like, dude, you guys are crazy. And no, I don't want to be involved in this. Like it doesn't necessarily make my place look good to have you guys like my name on your t-shirt and you're pulling these gross fish out of the East River. But like, I don't know, it got so that it was. What made it amazing was also its downfall, because we were able to bridge the gap of like white hipster kids moving into town, and then like the Polish community, it was every walk of life, because everyone has fished from where they're from. And then all of a sudden they're all living in New York and they all have this shared thing that they have in common. And at first, before there was no prizes or cash prizes, it was amazing because everyone was just out there for bragging rights. And it got very competitive. And there were guys who were incredible fishermen. Yeah. They'd fish all through the night and they'd be fishing with like 10 poles. They'd have one under their foot, like 2 in their hands. And it was really nice, like to see these guys getting along with like, you know, the like white hipster kids. It was like the first time I had ever really seen it work.
Right.
And the white hipster kids had so much admiration for these other guys, like, you know,
who completely knew what they were doing.
Yeah. The Islanders, like the Puerto Ricans are badass fishermen. Dominicans are great fishermen. And then like, then there's this Polish guy this guy Jan, who always used to win. And we have no idea. He was pulling like gigantic stripers out of the East River. And we were just like, dude, this guy is unbelievable.
He probably caught him 3 days earlier. He just had him tied up.
Oh, he had rules. So that's what happened. People started cheating. So then we had to in place all these rules, which were crazy. Like, yeah. And so then the whole reason to be doing this was for the fun of it. And suddenly I'd walk down the docks and it was like I was the fish police, and these guys would be like hiding their shit and like, blah, blah, blah. And then I started to hate it because I was like, dude, how did this become like, I don't want to be the fish cop. And, you know, and the Polish community was like helping out the Polacks. And then like, it was like, dude, it started to actually sort of splinter. It got like really crazy. And yeah, there was cheating. It was a mess. It was a mess. But in the first 3 or 4 years, it was absolutely awesome.
Were there any secret spots that you
Tons, man.
Scoped out. And you were like, this is my hole. This is my fishing hole.
Absolutely. And sometimes you'd get out there and there'd already be guys there. And like you didn't even speak the same language, and you're like, oh shit, we can't fish our spot. Like, get out of here first. It was so dangerous. I don't like now. I look back on it, like I would never do it again. Like it was so incredibly dangerous because, just like what you said, if one of those things broke on you and you didn't grab something quickly, that current was going
gone.
Like 4 knots. You were totally gone in the middle of the night. Oh
and
my
God. You get dragged across some rebar that's sticking up out of the water. You get all messed up.
It was really stupid. And actually it's a miracle we didn't have anybody get hurt or whatever.
So I wanna, this is crazy. There's so much to talk about. So, I want to talk about your cooking show, like, catch it, cook it, and eat it. But I think we should really, we're talking about this Williamsburg vibe, man. I think we need to talk about Dr. Klaw. Dr. Klaw.
Dr. Klaw. So Dr. Klaw is a nice way to wrap it all up because, like, Dr. Klaw should also be, I wish I was a professor, because if I was like an economics or marketing professor, I'd have a lot to talk about, because I had worked for a long time, as you know, hustling. I was one of those people who, like, very early in school realized, like, I'm not going to be able to do it the way other kids do, not because I don't want to, just because I can't. Like, I'm just not that kind of smart. I'm a different kind of smart, maybe. So I was like, that's, I think, why I went this, which seemed like, whoa, this guy's taking risks. But no, risks would have been going like the way most people go. I had to go a different route out of necessity. And I had spent a long time trying to make my stuff work. Restaurants and doing the TV thing. And as you know, it's all promotion. And you're just like constantly trying to like make it click, make it happen. And then I guess I was frustrated because I was like down and out because I had lost the restaurant with my ex-girlfriend. She had dumped like all of my possessions on like my front porch. So I like came home one day and it was like literally like a mound of surfboards and I'm like, I really don't know what's next. I don't know what I'm going to do. And, I woke up one day and I was like, I don't know how this happened. I think I saw an article, something about, no, I was doing what you guys were doing. I had catch it, cook it, and eat it. And I brought some lobster folks on the show, and they really inspired me. I loved their story. Like, they would go up to Maine, literally with a revolver, like in their waist pocket, and like $20,000 on them and cash. And they would go and they'd get the best prices for lobster, and they'd bring it back to New York. And that was the beginning of good lobster getting to New York. And once I had interviewed them, I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, now I have a really good lobster source, which I never had. I always had to go to Chinatown when I was doing the restaurant stuff. And so now I knew I had Maine lobster, and I called them up and I was like, hey guys, I was like, I need your help. Like, I think I'm going to do a lobster thing. And they were like, yeah, man, we can get you lobster. No problem. And I called up my friend, Rich, who now lives in Puerto Rico. And I said, Rich, you have to come to the underground lobster pound. Yeah. And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, it's my basement apartment in Greenpoint. It's like the size of this room. And I was frustrated because suddenly the lobster roll, which I had been doing literally since I had gotten to New York with no luck, everyone's like, that's expensive. I'm not paying like $14, $12 for a lobster roll. And I'm like, but that's the only way I can make a lobster roll. They wouldn't do it. Now it was becoming this chefy thing, and guys were making it all fancy. And I was like, dude, these guys are not making a good lobster roll. It's wrong. You don't want to mess with a lobster roll. just make it the way you're supposed to make it. So I invited Rich to the Underground Lobster Pound. he came, he had a lobster roll. He's like, dude, that's the best fucking thing I've ever had in my entire life.
It's
And